Hello, welcome once again to another episode of Medical Files brought to you by Studio77, where your health is our priority. My name is Adeleke Favoiwajesi, beauty always on duty. Now let's take a look at what we have today. We are diving deep into a silent but serious health condition that affects millions of people all over the globe, and it's known as hypertension. It can also be called high blood pressure. Now let's start with the basics. What is hypertension? It's a condition where the force of blood against the wall of the arteries is consistently too high. The consistency is important. It's not just for maybe for a day or two. It's consistently too high. And one thing about hypertension is that it might not sound alarming at first, in the sense that it is most times asymptomatic. You don't see the sign, you don't see the symptoms. But over time, high blood pressure can cause serious health problems such as kidney failure, can lead to loss of vision, it can lead to stroke, it can also lead to heart disease, kidney disease, stroke, and even loss of vision. So how do doctors diagnose hypertension? They usually diagnose hypertension when the blood pressure readings are around 140/90 millimeter mercury or even higher, and the first number, which is 140, is known as the systolic pressure. What is the systolic pressure? Systolic pressure measures the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats. So it measures the pressures in the artery when the heart beats. And the second number, which is the 90, is known as the diastolic pressure. What is diastolic pressure? Diastolic pressure measures the pressure when your heart rests between beats. So the pressure that your heart, the pressure in your heart when it rests between beats is known as the diastolic pressure. So the measurement of both gives us the measurement for the blood pressure. Why is it called a silent killer? It's called a silent killer because most people with hypertension, they do not see any symptoms until the damage is done. And that's why regular health checkups are important. Health checkups such as checking your blood pressure is important than any other thing, because hypertension does not give you a sign that I'm here. It only shows face when the damage is already done. And now let's look at the cause of hypertension. What causes hypertension? The cause of hypertension could be primary, which is called primary or essential hypertension, and the second one is known as the secondary hypertension. Now let's check. What is primary hypertension? Primary hypertension is a type of hypertension that develops gradually over many years, and most times there is no cause for primary hypertension. It just happens to develop over the years, maybe due to lifestyle. And then the second one is known as the secondary hypertension. What is secondary hypertension? It's an hypertension that is caused due to an underlying conditions such as kidney disease, typhoid problems, or even use of certain medications. So it's something has to happen before secondary hypertension can occur. If we have some illnesses in our body, we should take good care of it so that it will not lead to high blood pressure. Now let's take a look at those who are at risk when it comes to hypertension. I mean the risk factors. And number one is when you are overweight or obese. When you are overweight or obese, it can lead to hypertension. And also when you lack physical activity, such as you don't do any exercise, you are sitting down in your house from morning to night, you are at work always sitting down, it can lead to hypertension. And another thing is poor diet, especially when your food salt content is high. When the salt content of the food is very high, it leads to hypertension. And also when one does not take in enough fruits and vegetables, it also leads to hypertension. And another thing that leads to hypertension is excessive alcohol intake. Don't even take alcohol at all if you are not writing letter to hypertension. When you take too much alcohol, it leads to hypertension. Smoking also leads to hypertension. When you go through too much stress, chronic stress, it leads to hypertension. And also when there's a family history of high blood pressure, hypertension is hereditary, so it can be inherited. If there's a family history of hypertension, such person is prone to having hypertension. Age is another factor, in the sense that as people get older, they tend to be at risk of having hypertension. And another risk factor is the race. These studies have shown that African descent, they are prone to having hypertension early and even severely. So if you're an African, watch out for your weight, for your lifestyle, because an African is prone to hypertension compared to other races. Now, how does hypertension affect the body? Let's check that out. Over time, high blood pressure can damage the arteries, and it leads to atherosclerosis. What is atherosclerosis? Atherosclerosis is a condition that hardens and narrows the arteries. So the arteries are hardened and narrowed. So this leads to damaged arteries. Another thing is it causes heart enlargement, and when the heart is enlarged, it eventually leads to heart failure. And another one is it damages the kidney. And we know that the kidney is very important when it comes to body functions. The kidney helps in ultrafiltration. It helps in removing excess waste products from the body. And when the kidney has failed, the person is prone to even more severe disease and even death ultimately. So hypertension can lead to kidney failure. And another thing is it affects the eyes, which can result in blindness. Hypertension is that serious in the sense that it can lead to loss of vision, and such person becomes blind for life. So let's look at the signs and symptoms of hypertension. You know, I mentioned earlier that hypertension is asymptomatic in the sense that you do not see early signs or symptoms. It is when damage is done, that's when hypertension is diagnosed. And so if at all symptoms will appear, they might include headaches, shortness of breath, they can include nosebleed, chest pain, blood vision, or even dizziness. So if you are experiencing one of these and you know you are not sick, you don't have any underlying disease, it's important that you go to the hospital for checkup. You have not done something so laborious and you're already running out of breath, you're having headaches even though you sleep well, even though you are well rested, you just feel dizzy when you stand up. It's important that you go to the hospital and check for your blood pressure. Like I said earlier, these symptoms do not really occur until it has reached a dangerously high level. The doctors call it hypertensive crisis. It's when these symptoms appear. Now, how is this diagnosed? Diagnosis is actually very simple in the sense that it just requires measuring the blood pressure with a digital or manual blood pressure monitor, and it's recommended to check blood pressure regularly. So it's advisable that every household has a blood pressure monitor, most preferably the digital. The price ranges from between 25,000 to 50,000 for personal use. So, and doctors may also require blood and urine tests. They also require ECGs or echocardiograms to check if hypertension has already affected organs. So there are even different tests to check apart from the blood pressure monitor. Doctors also require some other things like I mentioned earlier, urine and blood tests. They also do ECGs and echocardiograms. That one is to check if no organ has been damaged due to the hypertension. So now let's look at the treatment and management of hypertension. Even though hypertension is very deadly and a silent killer, the good news is that it is manageable, and the treatment usually involves lifestyle changes. What are the lifestyle changes that we're talking about? They include reducing salt intake, eating more fruits and vegetables, and even whole grains. It also includes exercising regularly. It can help to manage high blood pressure. Even if it's just 30 minutes walk per day, it can save you from this silent killer we are talking about. And also losing weight if at all the person is overweight, quit smoking and reducing alcohol. It can help to manage hypertension, and also managing stress through rest, relaxation, or therapy. When you are able to manage stress, it can also help you to manage when you manage stress, it can also help you to manage hypertension. So now, another way to manage hypertension is through medications. Doctors may prescribe antihypertensive drugs, and there are also several types including diuretics. These ones are known as water pills, ACE inhibitors, calcium channel blockers, salt intake, so they can help block calcium, those kind of drugs, and also beta blockers. So it is very important not to stop medication. If at all you have been using drugs or meds, it is not advisable to just stop medication suddenly or without a medical advice. So even if you feel fine, don't stop your medication. blood pressure can shoot back up without warning. So don't stop your medication if you're on it, even though you feel fine. Continually use it. And don't forget, I mentioned earlier that high blood pressure is a consistent silent killer. So you have to be consistent with your drugs. So now, how can hypertension be prevented? If you don't have hypertension, you can still take some steps in preventing it. So let's look at how to prevent it if you don't have hypertension. The first thing is you have to be able to eat right, and there's already something in place to help people eat right in order to prevent hypertension. It's known as DASH diet. What is DASH diet? It's known as dietary approach to stop hypertension. It includes lowering salt intake, eating whole grains such as brown rice, oats. It also includes eating fruits and vegetables. It includes eating low fat such as fish, poultry. You have to do away with red meat. Those are the things entailed in the DASH diet, dietary approach to stop hypertension. And also, you exercise consistently. You can continually exercise. That way you can prevent hypertension. Reduce stress. If you are going through too much stress, try as much as possible to reduce them. Avoid smoking and alcohol, and also monitor your blood pressure at home or during checkups. I already mentioned that it's something that you can get, so you continually monitor your blood pressure. That's a way to prevent it if you don't have it. So now let's look at hypertension in organs. I mentioned earlier that hypertension is not age is a risk factor when it comes to hypertension, but young adults tend to experience hypertension. What's the cause for it? So hypertension isn't just an old people disease anymore. Increasingly, young adults in their 20s or even 30s are being diagnosed with high blood pressure, and it's due to so many factors such as poor diet, sedentary lifestyles, obesity. When someone is obese, when someone does not eat well, even at a young age, one can be prone to hypertension. One can be prone to having hypertension. That's why awareness and early testing are so critical even for young people. So if you are young, don't think that you're not susceptible to this hypertension. You are, because of the way you live your life. If you are not eating well, if you are going through too much stress, if you are obese, and also if there is a family history of hypertension, younger adults tend to have hypertension. So now, as I wrap up today, I want you to know that hypertension may be silent, but its effects are loud and dangerous, and the power to control or prevent it lies in your hands. Check your blood pressure, live a healthy life, and if you are diagnosed, don't panic at all. We already heard that it is manageable. That's the good news. So don't panic and just follow your doctor's advice and stay consistent with your treatment. Hypertension is a consistent silent killer. You also must be consistent when it comes to managing it. And that's it on today's episode of Medical Files, brought to you by Studio77. I hope you found this information useful, so you can do well to share it with your friends and families, and because it will just help save a life. Join me again next week, the same time and the same platform. I remain Beauty, always on YouTube. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep hope alive. Bye.